You're listening to Errol Parker and Clancy Overall, editors of the Batuta Advocate, on Desert Rock FM.
Welcome back to the Batuta Advocate radio show, recording live down here in downtown Batuta. Now, Errol has made his way down to Canberra. He's trying once again, hopefully not in vain, to get us inside the Canberra Press Gallery. They've turned us back several times now. They don't want us in there. They don't want us tearing the lid off everything that is Australian politics, and it's in their best interest to keep us out of there. So good luck to you, Errol. Hopefully you can find a back door into that building, but that doesn't look likely at this point. So that means I'll be running the show alone today, and I'm joined by a guest who we've been wanting to get on for a while. He's going to speak to a lot of different topics today because he's a multifaceted man. He's been described as the Polynesian Gary V. He's in fashion. He's an ex-NRL player, I guess you could say representative footballer.
Yeah, definitely play for the Kiwis, yeah.
Played for the Kiwis. And of course, he's in the media world himself. Thank you for joining us, Isaac John.
Thanks for having me on, bro.
The Iceman.
Don't realize how deep your voice is until you got the headphones on.
Yeah. I can get in real close and do these ones, or I can get back and go full commercial radio like this. But this is the world we're in, mate. This is media. You've got your different techniques, and we're all learning this ourselves because we're definitely not signed to any kind of major radio station. We're in the podcast game. We're doing it ourselves. It's all independent. You've been in this how long now yourself? With
podcasting?
Yeah, podcasting.
Individually podcasts, I've been going for about 2 years now. I initially just started off the back of we're doing Q&A vlogs, and now kind of like our highest performing content. Saw a bit of a space there and started just doing it. I just kind of wanted to interview business people and sort of gravitated away from that because you sort of talk to pretty much all the same people after a while, and kind of really small market for that. So just started doing a little bit of football, and then sort of had this idea for YKTR Sports, and we're in a position now where we've got a few different things that we talk about. Yeah,
you've got a fair bit of talent, a few different shows.
Yeah, it's cool.
Tell us, I want to go back to the start. You're from the sulphur plains of Rotorua, Tokoroa.
Yeah, that's it.
It's actually a town that really does punch above its weight in terms of sporting exports.
Oh, fucking oath.
So who have you got? You've had, I don't know, I wouldn't know how many All Blacks, but
probably some of the more well-known ones around sort of my time. Kevin Mialamu, Richard Kahui, very good-looking bloke as well. Had a guy called Sean Maitland who's playing for Scotland and British Lions right now, won comps of Crusaders. He was my best mate growing up. Quay Cooper, he was our other best mate growing up. And then in terms of league talent, myself, Joseph Manu and Zane Tedavano. So in terms of a town that's got 10,000 people, we've done all right.
Yeah. And that's not including the pre kind of
Walter Little
and pre-sports science footballers as well. There would have been a bunch of All Blacks they pulled off the farm too.
Yeah, 100%.
So what was the story there? Your family Cook Islander and Māori background. There's a huge Cook Islander population in that part of the world, of New Zealand, and where does that date from? Where did that migration wave start?
There was a mill that was opening up at the time, and I don't know how many cookies were there at the time, but basically they've just gone, hey guys, there's a bunch of work here, and you want to come live the dream in New Zealand? Let's come to Tokoroa. And at the time, there was like a lot of work. So my dad was one of those people.
Timber, he was in timber.
Yeah, and I don't actually know. I know he works in the mill. So basically, what my mum used to say is like, if you don't work hard in school, you're going to end up in the mill, just like everyone else. So basically, everyone in my town either works in forestry, chopping down trees, or whatever they do with those logs in that mill. They can turn it into pulp and paper and 4x4, and I don't actually know because I never ended up out there, but that's what my dad done. He's always done it. Worked 12-hour shifts his whole life. And just never really complained about it. And I kind of just knew I didn't want to do that though.
And did you think sport was always going to be avenue out?
My dad was always my coach as well. Big football fan. So he was my coach from 5 to 16. We had a super stacked side when I look back on it now. So obviously, like me and Quade were in the halves, and he went on to play for Wallabies. I've gone on to play for the Kiwis and whatnot. So we were stacked there. I reckon from like 6 to 15, we would have lost about maybe 5 games.
Really?
And like we were like small town, and everyone sort of knew who we are because we weren't coming from a big town. But we always had skillful players, and to be fair, me and Quay probably weren't even the best players in our team. We had guys that when you physically develop a lot quicker. Me and Quay were very small, always the most competitive, but we had a couple guys probably 3 or 4 that
Yep.
could have gone close or thereabouts. I wouldn't say they would have made it because that always comes back to work ethic, but they hit a head start on us easily.
Were there some kids that you saw that were better than all of you? That
Yeah,
just
we had
didn't
a
have
couple.
just didn't have that kind of factor that would have gotten them out.
It's like when you're in a small town, man,
Yeah.
small town syndrome's
Yeah.
a thing. It's like you start drinking a little bit earlier. You're like 12, 13, 14 drinking. I remember, like, my mum works at a primary school and she said, so they found someone with weed on them. Stuff like that. So you do things a little bit early, start having sex a little bit earlier, and obviously you get caught up in that party scene like that.
Kids a bit earlier.
My best mates back home now, though, their kids are rolling into high school and intermediate. They were having kids 16, 17.
Yeah, right.
And they've got like 3 or 4 kids.
Yep.
Out of my super close mates there, I'm probably the only one that doesn't.
Yeah. You know, a town full of people that work hard and they play hard and they train hard. But you've also got, I imagine, a bit of trouble too, like in any rural town. So you've got, I imagine, a few motorcycle enthusiasts in the in the region.
Yeah, that's put it that way. No, it was a town that was cool. We were a black power town.
Yep.
Like Crip town.
Yeah.
So you could only really wear black or blue.
Yep.
If you wore red, just got to get ready to fight for
They get the
no
wrong idea.
reason. Yeah. So it sounds stupid over here, but like when we were growing up, that was kind of like the real thing. So and then we're getting guys that were 17 and 18 getting patched up. So they go for initiation. I don't know what they have to do. Obviously,
So the street gangs are kind of emulated off the American stuff,
very
but
similar.
then the big boys are riding motorbikes.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's changed now because obviously they're a bit more like organised crime. Back then it was kind of just like standover and like this little boys club. But I remember when I was 5 years old, I was a ball boy. My uncle, he looked after we had like an under 6 rep team for like South Waikato. And I remember he was in the Black Power and he was my uncle. And then I remember there was this massive fight down at the local oval and he goes, go to the back of my car, open up the boot and just wait there. And I remember, I'm 5 years old because I remember kindergarten. I remember a lot of things. I got a photographic memory that way. I remember standing there and him and his 3 mates and they're all Black Power come running around the corner and I'm just standing by the car and he's like, get the fuck out the way, flips open the bottom of the boot, like there's a mat on top and they grab these baseball bats and it's just, and then 3 mongrel mobs start running around the corner and these boys are just trying to whack each other with baseball bats and my mum's just going, fuck, get out of there. So that's the kind of town it was.
Yeah.
But in saying that, like I didn't grow up rough. My parents, my dad was my coach.
Yep.
If I fucked up at school, I was going home to get like.
But you did have the uncle.
Yeah, I did have the uncle, and I did see stuff around me as well. But on the other side of it, we had the highest youth suicide rate in the country. So, like we seen a lot of things when we were younger, and like when I talk about them now to other people, they're like, "Fuck, that's crazy." Yeah. But you just kind of grow up how you grow up.
And I guess it's probably not much of a shock entering the NRL. And because, you're surrounded by a lot of kids who come from, low socioeconomic areas or rough towns and rough suburbs.
They're usually the better players too, aren't they?
Yeah.
Why is that? Just because they've been through a bit more or what?
I wonder. Maybe they're just more desperate to get out and get into it. When did you realise, you start moving into fashion and media and, you're hanging out with Pip Edwards and you're hanging out with, you're in the eastern suburbs, you're doing all that.
Boys of Mark Boris and that.
Yeah. And then you accidentally bring up one of those yarns and someone goes, what the fuck? Do you find that a little bit too? You sometimes, or are you good at walking in both worlds?
I think like you said, I can sort of roll up and sort of plant myself in any situation and be okay. Like I can talk to gang members because I've talked to them in the past. I can sit in a business room with people that are worth fucking X amount and hold my conversation because I feel like I know what I can talk about. So yeah, I don't hide from the fact that that's the way I've grown up because I wouldn't change a single thing about how I've done it. But yeah, like sometimes you don't really sort of roll into those types of conversations like straight away. My uncle's in the Black Power. I was standing by the boot.
I will admit I did a bit of prying here to get you to tell that yarn.
Yeah. But this is how like the town that we grew up. So me, Quade and that we kind of went to like more of a white school. So it was called Cargill and it was a bit nicer and we were sort of on the outskirts of town. But like a couple of years before, like my brother when they were there, primary schools used to go have fights with other primary schools. So there was this place called Rock Park. Like, when I look at primary school kids, so there's this place called Rock Park and you might have a Strathmore school versus Central school rock up. And then sometimes if they're outnumbered, like you go, all right, we're just going to pick our 5 best fighters versus your 5 best fighters.
Please stick to these rules.
Yeah. And this is primary school. And I remember intermediate. So there used to be 2 intermediates there, Tainui and Toke Intermediate. And Toke was a lot bigger But then they used to do the same as well. But I remember time when we rocked up and they only had like 5 fighters, and they're like, yes, we grab your best 5 and let's just have a fight.
You start them young. And then a lot of those kids end up, as you said, losing 6 matches in 10 years of junior football. You know what I mean?
It's cool. And like the guys that didn't make it, they still play football now, and they're obviously the best players on the park by a country mile. So, yeah, I don't know. When you talk about it, it seems funny, but when you're just growing up, you're just like, oh, this is just our life.
Yeah, that was just it. Tell us about the transition moving to. You actually went to the Warriors, so you didn't. There wasn't too much of a cross Tasman thing going on. You just fly to Australia for games, right?
Yeah, so Australia was like the mecca. But I was actually signed to Parramatta before I went to the Warriors. So from like 15 to 17, I was there, and I used to actually stay in the Scope's house.
Yeah, right.
So his parents used to look after 5-6 players, and so I used to go hang out at his house all the time because they were a bit more Kiwi than the Aussie guy I was staying with.
So that's Justin Horro.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of came through together then.
Oh, not really.
Yeah.
Like I just knew him. I've known him since that age.
Yeah.
So it was like he was a little bit older. He's about 3 years older than me. So I was like 17. I used to come over the training camps, and there was another guy. He was 17 years old that couldn't go out. So we used to hang out all the time. And guess who it was? It was Hainsey.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like I didn't know Hainsey was a gun. So we used to just sit in this room, wait for the boys to come home. And we'd be talking about like random shit, like footy, and then like next year he was playing for like Australia. I was like, oh shit, I know that dude.
And then you went back to New Zealand.
Yeah, so they had like Chris Keating, Trent Hodkinson, who were probably a little bit ahead of me in terms of development. And then Tony Iro, who was a Cook Islander guy, he knew that I was signed with these guys over here. And then I finished off my high school there, and I was meant to come to Parramatta. I ended up just going to the Warriors because they had a 20s competition starting, and I was training with first grade straight away. So, I was sort of primed to be that sort of next guy in there. So it was cool.
I'm interested to know what it's like for a league player in Auckland. Like, what's you? I mean,
it's quite. You'd be like in the Waikato, all those more smaller towns. You go like Huntly, Ngurumoana. They're all very league dominant.
Yeah. There's a lot of league. I mean, I know there's a lot of league in New Zealand, and it's very much a similar kind of demographic to here. You know, it's like, the similar type of suburbs are playing league, and similar type of towns, particularly country towns, are playing league too up north. But what's it like in terms of profile? Because the yarn is, boys want to be an All Black, girls want to marry one.
Yeah.
What's it like as a Warrior rolling around Auckland?
Oh, I don't know, man. So when I first got to the Warriors, this guy there called Wade McKinnon and Gun. And he just rolled into the prime of his career, and he was the first sort of Aussie guy I sort of knocked about with that would like had so much confidence. It was like he was rocking up to Shortland Street.
Not familiar.
So Shortland Street's like the home and away version over here. So when I've grown up, I'm looking at Auckland like it's fucking Hollywood.
Yeah.
And there's a show called Shortland Street. Terrible acting.
Story
for another time.
Good little soap opera.
Yeah, good little. And it's on 7 o'clock every night. So it's a part of your tradition growing up. And my mum used to always watch it. And there was this hot chick on there, and she was at the first very promo that we were at. And Wade McKinnon just rocks up to her and goes, "Hey, like, what's up?" And I was just sitting there going, holy fuck.
Yeah,
and he
that's like the dream girl.
Yeah, pretty much. And he just goes, oh, let's go for a date tomorrow. Let me grab your number and I'll give you a text later. She's like, yeah, sweet. And I was going, fuck, this is different. This is different. Yeah. And like the thing with Union boys, they're very protected.
Yeah.
They've got that squeaky clean image in and around them. Like I didn't even know the All Blacks boys used to get loose and stuff until I started meeting them like recently, where like the footy boys and Quade calls him like, oh, he's a leaguey. That means he gets loose. So it was sort of that 2006, 2007 time where we used to sort of go to this place called Pony, which is underneath a strip club, and just used to party around there.
You'd stay down there though.
Yeah.
You'd stay underneath.
Don't go up top. I wouldn't have the money to pay for it.
But you think the NRL, the NRL players over there are just as kind of exposed, and
they are. And we had 20s comp, and our games were televised every single day. Over there, they might know one of the schoolboys and like first 15's massive over there, and then if you make New Zealand schoolboys, it's the equivalent of making the All Blacks. So people might know those dudes, but we're on Sky Sports just before the Warriors every single time, so everyone knew who we were. So we had probably a bit more of an advantage over those guys as well. So in terms of like leverage and stuff like that, not saying that we were better than them, but people knew who we were.
So tell me then, you've got quite an unorthodox career in football. Parramatta, as you said, didn't end up playing great at Para, but you spent a bit of time there, met all those young bucks. Came back, did Warriors for how many years?
3 years.
3 years the Warriors.
Oh no, probably maybe 4.
4 years would have felt like a long time at that age too, because it's your first job. And then you went to England. What was the thinking there?
So Ivan Cleary signed at Penrith Panthers. We brought on a guy called Bluey McLennan in 2011, all 3 grades. The year before, I just signed a 3-year extension. So Ivan goes, we want you to be like sort of the next guy. We've got Shawnee Johnson coming through as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be like 7-6. Then I went good as a youngster as well. Played a few NRL games. We won 5 in a row, and I got a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
And then in my 6th game, we played Penrith, and Petro Sevenasiva dived at my leg and done my ACL.
Yeah, right.
Come back the next year. Jimmy Maloney wasn't playing as well, and they're like, we want you to come in. Rolled up, sprained my ankle.
Yeah.
This was against the Tigers, my first game back. So I've gone from ACL to sprained ankle until Shawnee Johnson killing it.
Yeah.
So I kind of got weeded out at the back of that. But
that reputation he's made it sure kind of thing.
Yeah,
going on
I think I was, man. So some of the injuries I got. And then so the week before the grand final was a Wednesday, Bluey McLennan come up to me. He goes, do you want to have a chat? I'm like, yeah, cool. So he took me to the scene. He goes, I had 3 more years left on my contract.
So you left Warriors and signed how many years with
Wakey? No, I went to Wakefield. I went to England.
Yeah,
but I still had 2 years running on my NRL contract.
Yeah.
And he goes, there's not going to be a spot for you here.
Yeah, right.
And this is 3 days before the grand final. So
Okay.
I was trying to get over to Australia.
Yeah.
But there's all the salary cap had gone.
Yeah.
And then basically England, Wakefield come through and doubled my money. And
Yeah.
go, fuck, we want you here for 3 years.
Yeah, right.
Went over there, didn't quite work out, and ended up back at Penrith.
What that would have been the culture shock in your career.
Yeah.
The North of England. Fuck, tell me about it.
Fucking sucks. I still bag it now.
Everyone says it, mate. Willie Mason said the same thing to us. He goes, "It place is fucking shit."
I've come from Tokoroa, not the most glamorous place in the world. Moved to Auckland, you know what I mean? And then but and saying it, the people were great. They were people are all time. Best humour. You can sit there, talk shit, cheap beers.
Yeah.
You need to do something to stay warm and happy. And they've got beer and banter.
Yeah, yeah.
But in terms of football, I started well there, and then the coach got really off me.
Yeah.
And then he was just trying to give me the shittest jobs. I had to be at training 6:30 in the morning doing extras. I had to hold all the pads. There was this guy called Sean Briscoe had this bent nose. I had to emulate players that we were playing against, and he'd always duck.
Yeah.
So I remember running back and then fake ducking. He goes, I need you to duck properly straight into someone's knee. And
yeah, right.
You know when you apply pressure to trying to weed someone out? That's
so you were a bit like OJ Simpson, and when he went to Buffalo. That's what it was.
Pretty much.
You just weren't connecting with your coach.
Nah. And then he was just trying to weed me out. And same thing. So I've gone from having a 3-year contract, rolled over there, 3-year contract, and I go, if you want me gone, you got to pay me this, or else I'm not leaving. But in the back, I knew Ivan was trying to sign me to get back to Penrith.
Yeah, right.
Always had a great relationship with Ivan.
Yeah, okay.
So I sort of weaseled my way out of that and got paid, and then signed with Penrith.
You got paid out?
Most of it, but they're fucking dodgy.
Yeah,
we'll give it to you 4 different payments.
Yeah.
So they gave me the first one, and then the next 3 they were meant to come through, they weren't coming. So I threatened to sue them.
Yeah,
because they're super dodgy over there, bro.
Yeah, right.
It's they'll go, today's gate attendance 5,600, but there's actually 8,000, so they're cashing them under the table.
Yeah, right.
So some dodgy shit like that.
It's the opposite of what they're doing here.
Yeah. So it's fucking crazy, bro. So that's
over here we're exaggerating the numbers.
Yeah, Roosters versus fucking Melbourne.
40,000.
It was a crazy experience, but it was kind of I've gone from not being wanted to this is basically your last chance.
Yeah, yeah.
So I rocked up to Ivan minimum wage on matchies.
Yeah.
Trained my ass off. I was already training my ass off, so I landed here super fit.
Yeah.
My last day of training over there, it was one of the coldest days in Yorkshire history. It was minus 14 degrees. My first day at training, it was the last, just before round 1, you have a big touch-up session. So that was my first session there.
Back in Penrith.
And it was 42 degrees.
Yeah,
so I've gone from...
hot out in the west.
And it's dry as fuck. So I've gone from this massive minus 16, 48-hour...
Playing on snow. Yeah.
48-hour flight.
Yeah.
36-hour flight, landed, had a sleep, and then obviously you go to a new club, but fuck it, I'll train.
Yeah.
Just want to put your best foot forward, and it was 42 degrees, and I was way out the back, of everything, and it wasn't out of fitness, it was just fucking couldn't climatize. And I was like, what's this dry heat?
Yeah. That's 3 different kind of climates you've played in, really. New Zealand, over to North England,
and then you obviously you want to good, your first impression to be great. So I'm like out the back and just go, fuck, what have we signed this guy for? Yeah.
Could have just slept off the jet lag, come in a couple of days later.
And the thing about that year is like it's probably the best footy I've ever played because I knew my back was against the wall. Played like the first 6 games in reserves.
Yeah.
Rolled up. We played Melbourne. We were paying $11 at home. It was like a Friday night or something, or Saturday night. Obviously, they had the big 3 and everyone, and beat them. So it was pretty crazy. Next week, played the Warriors. I scored a hat trick.
Yeah, right. Okay, that's a good return to form.
Yeah.
And of course with Ivan. So
and then next week we played St George at Cogra, and we're the first team to ever nil them. So I've rolled back and then. So the boys have been losing. Yeah. I've come through. We've run 3 in a row. I've scored a hat trick against my whole team. We've pumped them 64 something, and then we beat and then re-signed for a couple more years straight away.
Oh, beauty! You love to hear it.
Yeah, it's cool. It was cool.
Where did the business nous come into it all?
So obviously you talked about being made of chalk.
Yeah.
Basically that was it. So I've done my ACL. Obviously when you're 20 playing football, you think the world revolves around you. Yep. Had a guy named Michael Luck, one of the great North Queenslanders. Yeah. When you looked at Lucky, he was kind of like Dallas Johnson, like his head was always in the wrong place, getting knocked out. He played the game, you almost think he'd be fucking dumb. Yeah. But when you talked to him off it, he just knew everything about everything. Yeah. And I was like, bro, why are you so smart? He goes, I read books all the time. Yeah, and right. He said he always had insomnia, so he just spent that time learning. And he gave me my first 3 books to read.
So obviously, you said sport was the focus for you growing up. And you hadn't really just sat down and read. I mean, what are we talking? We're not talking novels. We're talking kind of,
so
history.
Oh, no. So I'll start with autobiographies, obviously, because that's what you relate to easier. So I was reading about, like, it's not about the bike before. Obviously, he got all his shit caught with, you know what I mean? So, like, I knew.
Lance.
He goes, you're going to be in a bike for the next 4 months. You might as well learn about cycling and read this book. And then I forgot what the other ones he sort of gave me. I think they were just super
Tyson
random.
was in there.
Yeah, Mike Tyson was a good one.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story, So I really started to enjoy reading, and obviously I was smart at school. Yeah. My mum used to always say, if you don't do well in school, you can't play football. Yeah. But my dad was my coach, so it was just weird little balance. So I'd always do enough to get by, just so I could play football. So like education and learning was kind of pushed on me when I was a little bit younger. But then once I got into reading, you sort of you start with autobiographies, kind of get bored, and then you move into like different stuff, and then obviously self-development and business, and kind of just grew from there. And by the time I finished football, I read about 100 books. So,
yeah, right.
Yeah. And it was, I always got injured. I was like, oh, fuck it, this is my time to read.
Yeah, okay. I haven't really heard that kind of story before in terms of, you work on your kind of business sense and your professional developments based on injuries in rugby league. I don't know if anyone else has that story.
Nah, yeah. And at the time, I was just like, I was looking for something to do, and like you play PlayStation, like fuck, get bored. Do a binge series, get bored, and so that was just my sort of thing. And when I always felt good after I read, like when you exercise, you feel good. Yeah, it's sort of that like breaking the mental sweat.
Yeah. You
different
feel, part of your brain working too.
You feel just as good by reading and stuff. So it's cool.
So tell me then, when was the first time you organised an ABN? When was the first business you had a crack at?
So like.
And if it wasn't legal, you don't have to bring it up.
Nah, so it's pretty funny. So
selling scalp tickets in North England.
Nah, you'll actually get a fucking laugh out of this. So that's not my first business I started. I knew I wanted to start something. I just didn't know what it was. So I was just trying to do all the cliche shit. So one of the first things, and I was big into online courses as well. Yeah. So I was doing like Ty Lopez courses and stuff like that. And one of the first things I learned about was drop shipping.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so like if anyone doesn't know what drop shipping is, it's basically like you sell a product, but you don't own the inventory. And as soon as someone buys it, you send it off from like Amazon or a print-on-demand t-shirt. So I remember sitting on like Instagram and I was like, fuck, all I see is chicks like with dogs. Like how's he like dogs t-shirts? And there was. Yeah. So I went onto this website in America, and it looked like they were killing it. So that looks like they were selling a dog t-shirt every like 15 seconds because this little notification thing would pump up. I go, fuck, these guys must be killing it. So what I did, I started a dog page on Facebook, and off the back of that Facebook page, I used to retarget people with dog t-shirts, and my biggest selling demographic was like 40 to 50-year-old chicks in Texas.
Yeah, right.
That was my first business, man. and like I jumped on Canva, and I had this dog thing. I just flipped it around, and the page was called The Upside Down Dog.
Yeah, right. That was it.
Yeah.
That was it. That had nothing to do with what you were doing.
Nothing at all. Yeah. And obviously, like we kind of started YKTR. Like we were just printing T-shirts on like AS Color and going down to Parramatta and just wearing them.
Yep.
So we were getting a couple sales through there. And our first sale was like, oh, if you want to buy a T-shirt, email me here at Isaac at like, you know what I mean? That's how we didn't know what Shopify was.
So YKTR is an all-encompassing brand now. It covers all of your media kind of stuff, all your podcasts. But it did start with the fashion side.
Yeah, you say fashion, and like I know a lot of people say that about me, but
apparel, maybe apparel's a better word.
Lifestyle brand. I'll say lifestyle brand because people at the start people just get angry at me because we were selling out, but they'd been to the design school and like they're like, this ain't fashion. I was like, yeah, I know. Like I'm not trying to be like fashionable. I just trying to make T-shirts that look cool for us.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'd start out as apparel.
The story is there. You were all living together.
Yeah. So me, Chico, and Normie used to live together.
Okay. So that's Seguiaro and Corey Norman. Some of the more polished NRL stars that exist in the public eye.
and that's the and like we were as weird. Like I was always with those boys, but I never seemed to get in trouble with them. Like I always sort of had that autopilot. Like even when I was drunk, I knew like if I fucked up, I'm going home get a hiding from dad. That was sort of my mentality. So I never really got in trouble with them. But the best things about those two boys, like I put up a post last night and I said, like, fuck it, let's do it. Like that should be the vocab of some of your friends. Yeah. And that's what they were and are. Yeah, and we were just like, fuck, why don't we just like, we used to say, you know the rules around the house, or like, are you going to get a chick over tonight? Like, oh, come on, bro, you know the rules. Or Normus, you reckon you use a win tonight? Oh, come on, bro, you know the rules. And it got abbreviated to YKTR. And then we used to write it on chicks' photos, and like one of the chicks we used to write them on was like Pia Miller, like just basically go, oh, like we're keen on her, never had a chance, but we're keen on her. And then randomly, I just put it on a T-shirt one time and took a photo of it and sent it to the boys, and like, fuck it, let's do it. So we done like 20, 30 T-shirts, sold them to the boys for like $25. We're making them for like $22. We were like, fuck, we're killing it, and kind of just rolled from there, bro.
And that's been how many years now?
Four and a bit.
Yeah. And they've kept playing the whole time, you know.
Yeah.
You'd kind of wrapped up by then, or you were wrapping up?
So I had one last year at Manly, but I was injured the whole time, and I snapped my pec one of my first games back. And I was like, fuck it, I'm done. Like, I want to try something else. So I just went all in on YKTR, and I was living out of my house in Penrith. I bought a house while I was playing football and had a 2-bedroom. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm just going to live in here, pay interest only on my loan, use the other room for like a storage room, and sort of started from there. And I shipped out my first 4,000 orders from there. Yeah. And they were long days, man. They were like 16-hour days. And I didn't get paid till 16 months later from like start to thing. And like my first pay was like $350 a week, and that was just I think it was $400, and my interest only loan was like $320. So I was living off like $80 a week. So there was this massive like grind phase.
Which must have been tough after, you know, the bright lights of footy and the nightclubs and the
it felt fun. Like for me, it felt fun, and that's why I say when people try and get into business, I say, make sure you're passionate about it, because if you don't have that other side, fuck, it's going to be hard. We just kind of just grew from there, and then obviously I learned about. I was doing self development. I was big into Gary Vee. We started vlogging, which was kind of a big part of how we grew. And then just lessons and
so basically you create this brand, lifestyle brand. The clothing starts, you know, it's a hit. You go out in anywhere where you're going to see guys who watch football or women, and you see that YKTR brand. You see it at the boxing, you see it at the football. You've found your market there, and you started to take everyone, document it all for everyone and how it was all happening.
That's the main marketing ethos, and I think anyone that loves me or the brand understands that. Because if you go like YouTube, like YKTR vlog #1, you can see our whole journey. You know what I mean? Like I was at the house I'm talking about. I think my first 30 or 40 vlogs are in that house, and then we made enough money to get our very first office in Parramatta, and then you can show us like moving in, and then we've gone to a bigger office now, and I don't know, like I'm glad I done it, and I didn't understand the importance of it. I did in terms of like getting sales and stuff, but like looking back now, it's going to be cool. And I think maybe say 10 years from now, and we've got hopefully the best sports media company in the country, and we're doing a bunch of cool things. Like someone's just going to rip all that footage and put a pretty cool fucking documentary together.
So that kind of evolved into a media brand from the social media aspect of, you know, documenting everything you've done through, you know, the rise and rise. And then all of a sudden you've got, you know, as you mentioned before, you know, all the boys that have been with you from the start. You've got Scopes doing his own podcast. You've got Chicken, you've got Seguiaro and Corey coming in, and they're doing shows, and you've got. I mean, you've basically got a network here where you've got all these followers, and you've got all these different yarns, and now YKTR is more than hoodies and t-shirts, obviously.
Yeah. So like there was a time where I was like, oh shit, and Gary Vee said this, I'm not taking credit for it, but he goes, you need to see yourself as a media company first. If you can't like write, you need to be able to speak. If you can't speak, you want to be in front of, if you can speak, be in front of video as well. So, and I kind of had enough data points where I can look back and go, oh shit, this has worked for us in vlogging. I think I can make this work for somewhere else. So YKTR Sports was actually built off the back of like Fox Sports. Like there's no alternative to sports media in and around in Australia, and it's always negative. It's always negative. So you're a journo, the best way you can get open rates is write a negative story, and it doesn't have to be true. Yeah, which was sad. And then you look at Fox Sports, it's no one under 30 years old on their panels. Yeah. Hardly anyone under 40 years old.
Under 50. You look at Buzz, Kenty, and all those icons and stuff like that. It's actually an old man's game. Sports media, isn't it? That
media is great for that type of demographic, but then you've got kids that don't want to play football anymore and they want to be influencers. Well, there's no media or like podcasts that tailor towards a younger generation besides Denon. Like Denon's done it really, really well. So we've grown up on Matty Johns. There's going to be 17, 18, 19-year-olds that are growing up on Denon Kemp, you know what I mean? Because he tailors towards their type of humour. We don't have such a long attention span. Besides the Matty Johns show, great show, we still love it. Everything else is kind of like negative. It's like controversy corner, NRL 360. And when you transfer people over from newspaper, and when their job is to get open rate through negative stories, and you transfer them onto TV, aka Paul Ken and Buzz Rothfield, they know that works, so they're going to format that type of content to transfer over to TV, and it does work. But there was just nothing else that had this cross correlation between culture and sports. Like you look at AI's importance, Allen Iverson's importance in terms of the cross between culture. And basketball is my favourite sport, but I'll never sit there and watch a whole game of basketball because I like everything that comes with it.
Yeah, hip hop and American sports have that.
It's seamless.
Have that thing where they can cross over, and American sports do well in kind of entering the arts, and I think rugby league might be the one that does that in Australia, where you've got these, young blokes.
You got the biggest brand and the biggest rap group in Australia, and you got the best team in the NRL right now, and there's a seamless transition there. You've got Jerome Lua walking through playing 1-4. Yeah, and I know the music's probably
it's about as raw as the boys playing football too, though. You know what I mean? You've got them all.
You just got to marry it up somehow. You're gonna get those boys like.
There's video clips on YouTube with millions and millions of views, and there's someone in the back wearing a Penrith Panthers jersey, on these rap songs, and that's the two merging. Whereas I guess back in the day you might have had a few rock bands come out of Newcastle around the same time as the Knights, Screaming Jets, and they kind of had that going on there, or Powderfinger with Brisbane and the Broncos and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of you've got clothing. And you've got.
Do you know where I see the gap in the market, bro? So when I look at sports media, it's all coverage in and around the game. So Friday to Sunday, Fox Sports going to cover it. Everyone's going to report on it, and even like Kempy and Roasty and all those sort of guys, they do like sort of stats analysis. Yeah. There's a white space from Monday to Friday. What's Jason Tomololo fucking doing on the Tuesday on his day off? I want to know that shit. What's he eat after a game, and how does he feel when he's going through Macca's after a loss? So that's the type of content I do want to own, and I just never wanted to be a sports media company that just sort of sits there and reacts and bags and gives opinion. We will have those types of things, but we're never going to be a gossip column. We're never going to be, Chad Townsend may be signing. Like I'm sitting on some information right now that I could leak and it'll blow up. But I want the trust of that player more so that I'd rather tell the story after it's already happened.
We'll talk about it when the mics are off anyway.
Like just stuff like that, bro. So you know what I mean? So like as much as
you don't view yourselves as journos.
We're not journos. We're not. One of the big things I say when people come in, I say we're not a gossip column either. Like we can get fucking stories or likes or views or whatever we measure currency in terms of social media and those types of things, but I don't want to be in that space because I know what it's like when you got rumors around you. I know, especially like when being around Corey and stuff, when all this sort of stuff's been going through, like, and the true story, and you're reading the stuff in the paper, like that Latrell Mitchell stuff 2 years ago or a year.
Hysterical.
Oh, and just name just dragged through the mud, and he's not doing anything about it, and it's just frustrating because when you do know these players and the effect it has on their families, I don't want to contribute to that. I want to be the guys that storytell and create our own content and around it and make players feel good.
Yeah, well, Dean did say that. It's very rare to see in media someone backing the player. Because that's not the model. The model is you're expendable. I guess the player's expendable. The rumours might not be true, but who gives a fuck? Kind of, that's the attitude from the media. So it is interesting. But it also is an age thing. Like, there will be a time when you guys are 40, 50, and you're trying to figure out these kids, and who knows what they're into by then. It won't be TikTok. It'll be 2-second videos.
But then I pay attention to it because obviously Gary Vee's my guy and my idol, and he hangs around like TikTok stars. And you look at Dave Portnoy, he's hanging around.
They keep your eyes on it. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And you hire people that are younger and smarter than you in those types of places. So I'm kind of into crypto and sort of stuff like that right now, and you try and explain it to people and they just don't want to learn. They're like, oh no, it's too hard. Like, cool, I'll learn and I'll get the benefits off the back of it. Like, I understand TikTok, I understand, like, I want to know what the new thing is going to be coming through, where this virtual reality, like, because when it does start to happen, there's always business models you can build off the back of it. And I think right now I'm a businessman. Like, I want to see business models. I want to fucking build cool things and fucking monetize off them as well. As ruthless as that sounds.
You're doing that. We've seen your offices. It's like, this isn't all smoke and mirrors, and you've got quite a setup down there. You've got your clothing to one end. You've got your polished studios. You've got all that going on. What can you recommend to people listening now to jump on that's coming out of your kind of stable?
Depends what you want. So if you want so I see content in two ways, either educational or entertainment. I'm not the first person to ever say this. If you can cross them over, you're going to be like a superstar, and if you're good looking. But if you want fuck around entertainment, go listen to 10 and a Ken. Got Chico, got Corey, got The Scope. Jordan Semi's a great character. They just sit there and talk shit. If you want education, come listen to my stuff as well. But then I can cross over and do both. You know what I mean? And
the Ice Project.
Give
it a plug.
It's going good, bro. It's going good. So I think a lot of people gravitate towards podcast content right now because it's easy. Like you can sort of drive and run and listen to something. But in terms of that visual content, jump on YouTube. I think we're dropping a show a day at the moment. Some of them are vlogs behind the scenes. I do a show called Inside White KTR, and they say if me and Simi aren't getting along, I'll fucking talk about it. This is what's happening. This is why he's been banned for a week, and I've cut off his clothes supply because he's promised me this. So, and I talk about like we sold out. We've been selling our clothes fucking quick, and there's an ugly side of this where we're actually losing customers because they're missing out on clothes. And they're people going to me like, you're a fucking liar. So I talk about this. I don't personally put their details out there, but I talk about these types of things. So I think right now I'm one of the guys that are giving out the most value in terms of education and even like sporting content as well. And I've hired on The Scope. I'll probably hire 2 more people by the end of this year. I want to double down on our content because I feel like we do it really, really well. And the audiences are growing too. And you're doing the same thing again as you did with the clothing. So it'll be interesting to see where YKTR is in 5-10 years. But that's where you're at right now. Yeah, I'm pumped. I'm pumped.
Yeah, no, well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving us the rundown. And as I said, not many people have that story coming out of injury, sitting on a bike, reading a book. Did you ever do that? Did you ever read while riding?
Nah, too busy sweating, bro. It was We had Ruben. The year I got injured, Ruben Wiki was our rehab trainer. And he was like, stupid. So, no reading. It's just fighting demons, bro.
Sitting on the spin bike.
All right, brother. See you later.
Exciting.